Have you ever agreed to help someone even when you were exhausted? Have you ever sacrificed your own plans, your rest, or even your happiness just so someone else wouldn't be disappointed? And have you ever noticed that the moment you stop saying yes, people suddenly treat you differently? If this has ever happened to you, then watch this story to the end. Many people spend years believing kindness means always being available, but the truth is far more complicated. Because sometimes the word that protects your life the most is the word you are most afraid to say. In a quiet town, surrounded by long roads and small houses, lived a man named Samuel. People described him as dependable. If someone needed help fixing a leaking pipe, they called Samuel. If someone's car broke down late at night, Samuel would arrive with tools and patience. If neighbors needed help moving furniture or carrying heavy bags, Samuel was the first person they thought of. Samuel never complained. He believed that helping others was the right thing to do. In fact, he had grown up hearing the same advice again and again from family and friends. Be kind, be helpful, never refuse someone who needs you. For many years, he lived by those words. But slowly, something began to change in Samuel's life. It was not sudden. It happened quietly, the way small cracks appear in a wall before anyone notices. His own projects started piling up. The shelves in his house remained unfinished. The garden he once loved became dry and neglected. Every day, someone asked for help, and Samuel always said yes. One afternoon, he arrived home late after spending hours repairing a neighbor's fence. His kitchen sink was leaking, and water had slowly spread across the floor. He stood there in silence, staring at the mess. The strange thing was that he felt too tired to fix it.
Weeks passed like this. Samuel was always busy solving problems for other people, yet his own life felt increasingly chaotic, and the more he helped, the more people expected it. Psychologists have often explained that people who constantly say yes can eventually experience emotional exhaustion and stress because their energy is stretched too thin. Research has shown that setting personal boundaries helps protect mental health and prevents burnout, allowing people to maintain balance and self-respect. But Samuel had never heard that advice before. One evening, a neighbor knocked on his door again. "Samuel, I need your help moving some boxes," the man said quickly. "It will only take a few minutes." Samuel looked around his house. The sink was still leaking. The shelves were unfinished. His head ached from the long day. Yet the answer escaped his mouth automatically. Of course. They worked until late into the night. When Samuel finally returned home, he sat quietly in the dark kitchen. Something inside him felt heavy, like a weight pressing on his chest. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was something stranger. It was the feeling of disappearing inside his own life.
The next morning, Samuel walked through the town market. People greeted him warmly, waving and smiling as if everything was perfectly normal. But something inside him was different. He noticed how many times people asked him for favors. "Samuel, can you check my roof tomorrow?" "Samuel, can you help me fix my bike?" "Samuel, could you look at my door this weekend?" Each request sounded small, but together they felt endless. And for the first time, Samuel wondered something he had never asked himself before. When did my life become everyone else's responsibility? Later that afternoon, he walked toward the edge of town, where an old park overlooked a quiet river. An elderly man named Victor often sat there, feeding birds and watching the water move slowly through the trees. Samuel sat beside him. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "I don't understand something," Samuel said softly. "I help everyone, but I feel more tired every day." Victor nodded slowly, as if he had heard this story many times before. "Tell me something," Victor said. "When someone asks for your help, do you ever refuse?" Samuel shook his head. Victor smiled gently and pointed toward the river. "Look at the river," he said. "The river gives life to the trees, the birds, and the farms around it. But imagine if the river tried to give water to every direction at once." Samuel thought for a moment. "It would flood everything." "Exactly," Victor replied. Then he said something Samuel would never forget. "Kindness without boundaries can destroy the person who gives it." Samuel sat quietly as those words settled in his mind.
Victor leaned back on the park bench. "For the next few days," he said calmly, "try something different. When someone asks you for help, pause. Ask yourself whether you truly have the time and energy. And if you don't, simply say no." Samuel felt uncomfortable just hearing the suggestion. He had spent his entire life avoiding that word. The following morning, Samuel woke early. Sunlight slipped through his window, and for once, his schedule felt empty. He walked outside and noticed the broken steps leading to his porch. They had needed repairs for months. Just as he picked up a hammer, his phone rang. A friend needed help moving furniture. Samuel felt the familiar pressure rising in his chest. The automatic answer was ready to escape his lips. Yes, but he stopped. He remembered Victor's words. Samuel took a breath. "I can't today," he said quietly. "I need to finish something at home." There was a long pause on the other side of the phone. "Oh, all right," the friend replied before hanging up. Samuel stood there in silence. The world had not ended. No one shouted. Nothing terrible happened. He repaired the porch steps before lunchtime. For the first time in months, he finished something that belonged to his own life. That evening, he noticed something unusual. He felt calm. The next few days tested Samuel's courage. Some people were surprised when he refused certain requests. A few looked slightly annoyed, but something else began to happen as well. People started solving their own problems. The neighbor who always called Samuel for small repairs suddenly managed to fix a broken chair alone. Another friend borrowed tools and completed his own project instead of waiting for Samuel. Weeks passed. Samuel's house slowly transformed. The shelves were finished. The leaking sink was repaired. Flowers returned to his garden. But the most important change was invisible. Samuel no longer felt like he was running through life trying to keep everyone satisfied. One afternoon, Victor visited Samuel's home. They sat outside in the warm sunlight while birds moved between the trees. Victor looked around at the clean yard and smiled. "So," he asked gently, "what happened when you stopped saying yes to everything?" Samuel thought for a moment. "At first I felt guilty," he admitted. "Then I felt nervous. But after that, I felt something I haven't felt in years." "What was it?" Victor asked. "Peace." Victor nodded slowly. There is an important lesson hidden inside Samuel's story. Many people believe saying yes makes them kind and saying no makes them selfish. But psychologists often explain that boundaries are essential for mental well-being and self-respect. Without them, people become overwhelmed, exhausted, and resentful. Samuel eventually understood something simple but powerful. Helping others is good, but losing yourself while doing it is not. Months later, Samuel was still known as a kind man in the town. The difference was that now he helped when he truly could, not when he felt pressured. And strangely, people respected him more than ever. Because the truth is simple. When you respect your own time, people learn to respect it too. So let me ask you something. Are you like Samuel used to be? Do you say yes even when you feel exhausted? Do you help everyone while ignoring the things that matter most in your own life? If that sounds familiar, remember this. No is not a cruel word. It is a boundary. And sometimes that small word protects your peace, your energy, and your future. Because the day you learn to say no might be the day your life finally begins to belong to you again.